Alright, hello everyone, this is Unisheep here, back with another video in the League Improvement Project series. Today we're going to talk about changes that would make the jungler happier. These are totally, totally serious suggestions, and right after this video is done, I'm going to be submitting a support ticket to Riot so that they can include them. Um, yeah, it did mean a lot if you subscribed and liked, if you enjoyed the video, and if you think of any suggestions or ways that this video could have been improved, leave them in the comments and I'll try and reply to whatever's down there. Um, yeah, so ways that Riot could make junglers happier. Again, I didn't write it, but it's only for some junglers. There are obviously some junglers that would not appreciate these suggestions, but you can't make everyone happy. So this would at least make some junglers have more fun and make it so that going autofill is not a coin flip between support and jungle every single time and occasionally getting top. So the first suggestion um, would be to move up your jungler or your team's turrets. Yeah, yeah, your team's tier one turrets. So fuck. Um, So basically what this would do is, say you have your turrets that are right over here. Instead, they could be right around here, but would still reach the same places. But the auto range would be like this. So they would still reach back here, but they would now reach into the middle of the lane. So this would make junglers happier because, and it would be the same way like top tower would be about here. I know this picture doesn't have alcoves in it, but we can we can visualize them being there and then having ranges like this about. This would be really good because any early game jungler, you would always fight. You would always have prio in lanes, and basically the entire game would be people rotating like away from the insane tower aggro which would be like this field, and then the vision field, and then the other the other turret would be like that too. So all of the action all of the action would be around here in the rivers, which would uh which would be awesome for junglers because it'd finally potentially get played around. Um, 'Cause that's the only places where there would be no turret aggro. It would be all in the jungle. So this would be really obviously early game jungle or late game scaler would not be happy with this, but there are other suggestions I have to appease them. So that's just one move up. I should be moving up all teams' turrets, but I mean the junglers would be even happier if their turrets would be moved up because they'd be able to get uh, just anything uncontested. It would be so hard to contest a team that had their turrets moved up so far into the lane. So the second change, this one has probably gone through the heads of riders at some point. It would be that Drake gets secured by team that dealt most damage. And it's pretty self-explanatory. The team that deals the most damage to the Drake gets it. It's definitely not an idea that would surprise a lot of people because I mean a lot of people while they were playing ranked probably thought of this at one point. But yeah, man, we would have won that game if this was in, if because they just got one lucky steal and won the game. I know I've won a lot of ranked games and lost a lot of ranked games because of a lucky steal. So this would be a reasonable thing, even though it would take away a lot of hype moments like X Smithy's career would his paycheck would be cut by a few $100,000 if you couldn't steal dragons anymore. So there's that, but I feel like a lot of people would be on board with this. Then this one is also pretty self-explanatory. Would be a button that respawns camps. Now there's only two new buttons that I'm really introducing in this, or that I'm suggesting being introduced. But this would make it a lot of fun for some junglers like Karthus because they could probably just sit at one camp the entire. By respawn camps, probably not buffs. Buffs wouldn't be the best idea, but just sitting at uh, sitting at raptors and just power farming them, just continuously respawning them, would probably make jungle more fun for them, uh, for sure. And counter jungling would not be a thing because if someone takes your camps, then you could just respawn them. So obviously that would not make every jungler happy, but it would make some, and I think people would have some fun with that. Honestly, this is the other button idea would be uh, we'll call it Among Us Sabotage, because that's essentially what it is. It's just a button that closes off the entrances and exit to river to force combat. So it would be, it would be closing off here, like just all of these entrances and exits. It would close off. So, and it would do that for any like any whatever jungler you would, I guess, point at. We'll say that's how it works. So basically lock you guys in for the 1v1, and those barriers would work like poppy W's where they would just not let you through. So that would be pretty awesome. I mean, obviously not all of these ideas should be implemented at once because if the camp respawning button would be introduced here, there'd be no reason for people to go into the enemy jungle because what would be in there that you couldn't just get by standing in your own jungle, but the sabotage button would be pretty cool to just lock off all the entrances and force a fight because so many times have I played jungle and the enemy just barely leaves, and it's like, bro, you went into my jungle to steal my camps, but you didn't come in ready to fight. That's some real lame shit. And there's a lot of lame shit that happens in jungle, which is why that's such a low play rate probably. One of the bigger lame things would be the blame thing that happens in it, but I digress. The sabotage button would be pretty cool to have to stop people from just taking a camp and running away, just like new players getting the free elo by just running. Well, I mean that was like more pre-rework Nunu that could just run into your jungle and steal a camp and run away. But either way, that would be pretty cool to have. This would actually be pretty great for top laners as well. Be Rift, Herald, and Drake fused into one objective. And the way this would work would be the Drake Herald would spawn both in top and in bot, and then when it gets killed on one side, so say it gets killed on one side, they all despawn and then respawn again. So I don't know the logistics of this. Maybe like they will no longer be fused with the Rift Herald after a certain bit of time, just like Rift Herald doesn't spawn, and it'll only be Drakes. But this would give top lane impact because you could play towards top and get a Drake. This would also add another element to competitive play because there would only be base races. There could be Drake races where both teams are at 3 Drakes, and they're both racing to kill a Drake, so that could be a really hype competitive moment. And really, I think this is one of the suggestions that would make people the happiest. Maybe bot laners that play shit like Draven wouldn't be as happy because they wouldn't get coddled. They junglers wouldn't force dives all the time just to get Drake in bot lane when they could just snowball their own top laners instead. But either way, I think that could be a fun idea for junglers. And also, you get Herald while you do Drake, so you'll be able to like get Drake and then mow down a bunch of towers. Another one is the electric fence. which um, there would be electric fences that it kind of like the Among Us sabotage, but it would just block off entrances. It wouldn't block off everything, but it could just block off these entrances to the jungle, which would it would mess up supports a little bit because they wouldn't be able to get warding as easy. They wouldn't be able to break wards, but electric fences that would deter. I'll just put that in electric fence to stop early invades, which would obviously be really beneficial for champs like Karthus, like Amumu, to stop like a Lee Sin from running in and beating their asses red. So let's undo that. Yeah, there are a lot of junglers that are non-confrontational early, so it would be nice to have electric fences blocking, and then I mean they could dash over walls. We wouldn't want to make it impossible. We would just want to make it more annoying, so they'd have to use a mobility ability to put themselves at like a disadvantage to make them a little more vulnerable when they go to solo contests. I mean, not really Graves. Graves would be more vulnerable because that guy can E over just every wall in the entire jungle and still be able to walk out after he autos you twice. But it would stop some guys. Then we have the dive blast cone which would be blast cone that launches you behind tier ones, and that spawns at 3 minutes. So this would also be really cool to see in pro play, just like the Drake Herald, because say it spawns like, well, there's already a one right there, but say it spawns like right here, and it's like a really long range one, and this one spawns. There's not really a good place for that one, but we'll put it like right on the edge here. I know it's really close to the other blast cone, but whatever. So then it will launch you all the way behind here. And with this, it spawns at 3 minutes, so you could finish your clear. And if your laners are really annihilating the enemy, you can just blast cone over behind the tower and dive them. And it just really could not be any simpler than that. You don't even need to play Rek'Sai. So like this would make Rek'Sai mains pretty sad because their champion would be obsolete with that kind of map movement for a dive. But yeah, I think Rek'Sai mains would be pretty pissed. But I mean, there's like only 3 of them in the world, so it's not really a big loss. Like players that the amount of players you would lose by putting in that blast cone would just wouldn't matter because so many people would rather play jungle. So the Rek'Sai mains could go pick up Hecarim or Graves or some shit and finally be playing a champion that's useful after 8 minutes. So another suggestion is, now this one is a really fun one because playing jungle, I feel this one a lot, would be only players that have smite can take camps. Everyone gets the Ivern treatment. And this is obviously awesome because there are so many people that, or no, only players, we'll change it. Only players with jungler permission can take camps. So it's kind of like, yeah, there will be like a command where you can ask the jungle. We'll call it the slash beg command. And the slash beg command would be awesome because so you slash beg for your jungler to let them to give them your camps, and it could work the other way around, where the jungle, if the jungle's behind, he slash bags you, the laner, to take your camps, but basically slash bagging your jungler to take camps would mean that there's a lot of ego dropping, because the fact that I feel like junglers would always get full access to their camps because no one wants to drop their ego by begging their jungler to take camps. Like if their jungler's 0 and 5 and they're 10 and 0, Yasuo has to beg them to take camps. That would just be hilarious, and it would be a great quality of life change. It would lower the overall ego in the game, I feel. And so the only way to be able to take camps would be to beg your jungler, or to have them be humble enough to let you by begging you to take them. And there's not a lot of junglers that would give that right, so we'll give the beg command so that junglers can beg their laners to take them, just for the selfless players that don't need to be the stars of the show, uh, that want to be supportive, and then but we'll have the beg command to force the toxic players to actually, know, we'll say theoretically getting on their knees to get a crumb of gold from their junglers. Then we have this one's one of my personal favorites because I permaban Master Yi. So if you have, this is just a working percentage, but if you have 40% or more of your ranked games as Master Yi, you permanently deal 50% less damage. And this would be, this would affect, this would affect any champ this guy plays. If you ever put time into this champ, you deal 50% less damage on any champion. And I feel like there's a lot of benefits to that. It discourages funnel players, but not entirely. It's not like, removing mastery from the game. However, it is steering people away from it. And it's not like it really matters to do 50% less damage, because at the end of the day, when mastery gets its items, you're still going to mow down an entire team, but it's a start to, make sure the player base stays away from Master Yi, because it definitely sounds newbie for my part to be complaining about Master Yi, and that is a fair point against this. However, you could probably survey the entire league population, and most of them would say that that they would not miss Master Yi. It would only be the boosters that would miss him, and also the people that just generally people that want free elo. I mean that'd probably be the case for several champions. If there was actually a poll to remove champions that people voted to get removed, there would probably only be Braum and shit. It would be Braum one for alls probably, until people complain about him and he gets removed, and then League of Legends would only be a skin purchasing game where you couldn't even play the champions with the skins. But that's neither here nor there. Honestly, Master Yi is a pretty annoying champ, so I wouldn't mind any Master Yi player being handicapped even more than they already are mentally, if that was not clear enough. And finally, number 10. This one is not about hating on a specific player base. That I let Rost out a little bit for that one. My apologies. Would be the last one would be Mario Kart Speed. Really like speed pads, I guess. In River. So basically, what the title suggests, this would make Hecarim mains have a wonderful time. Speed pads where you step on them and they propel you really fast. Actually, we'll make them any direction you step on them. So this would mainly be a buff to like Hecarim and Rammus, but it would also be a buff to a lot of junglers because with Scuttle Vision, Scuttle Move Speed, you'd be able to probably cross the entire river in like 3 seconds, depending on how fast the speed pads are, depending on how fast they make you. But either way, this would also make mid laners happier because roaming would be insane and supports would be happier too. But it would still make junglers happy because they could just I mean, there's not a lot of people that don't like running really fast in League, honestly. I don't think I've seen players that have been running really fast and have been having fun. It's like it's probably a reason why there's a lot of Jhin players and Lilia players and Hecarim players. Like most of the attraction for those champs are that you get to kite people and outpace people so much on champions without dashes. Well, Hecarim has like his ulti and his E, but his E doesn't really count as a dash, and his ultimate is an ultimate. So just champs that you can move really fast on are pretty fun generally. So this movement speed buff is would be pretty nice, and it could it would definitely make it so that people have to play more carefully. Like generally these rules are, or these not these rules, these changes would favor the more aggressive teams. But that's just what most junglers like to do. Most of the people that play passive junglers, I'd imagine, are just people that got autofilled or that want to sit and it's kind of relaxing to just clear camps. It's kind of therapeutic to just like path, around your whole jungle, and then when it respawns, do it again, except without the buffs, and then when the buffs come back, do it again like that, and then next thing you know, it is 22 minutes, and the enemy jungler has all three drakes, and you have to, or has three drakes, and you have to suddenly actually fight them. But until that time comes, it's all nice. So that's one of the reasons why I like jungle is because it's kind of chill to just vibe while killing a bunch of camps and pathing around and doing that whole shit. But anyways, that those are all my suggestions for changing the jungle to make it more fun for some junglers. Not all junglers would be made happy with this, but as usual, there's always going to be people who are going to be pissed about anything. You could give out free ice cream to people, and there'll be people complaining that it was vanilla and not chocolate. So that's just life. If you like the video, I would appreciate it. Once again, I don't want to show too much, but I'd appreciate if you would subscribe and like. And again, we can have an argument in the comments if you want to argue, or if you want to just leave a suggestion, or something I could do better, something that you think could make junglers happier that wasn't on this list. And yeah, I'll see you next episode or next video.